Hello everybody, welcome to the County Seat today. I'm your host Chad Booth. Today we're sitting down with two veteran county commissioners who have recently traveled to an organization called NACo. NACo is the National Association of Counties. And it begs the question, why would a small rural Utah county commissioner want to make their way amongst all these thousands of county commissioners and county leaders from across the country to have a confab? What do they have in common and what's the value of it? We're going to start that conversation by finding out a little bit about what NACo is as an organization.
There are a number of issues that county commissions and councils have to work to solve within a county. However, a fair amount of those issues, problems, and challenges were created far from the boundaries of the communities which they impact.
One of the most challenging things I think county commissioners learn when you first come on is that it's really not all about what happens in your county, it's what happens outside of your county that affects your county. And we've seen it multiple times. We've seen wanting to do a prairie dog preservation facility in our county. Well, this is driven by U.S. Fish and Wildlife regulations, and all of that stuff is stuff that we're not voting on and painting ourselves in a corner.
County issues are communicated directly with the governor, state legislature, state departments, among Utah's counties through the Utah Association of Counties, and Utah's congressional delegation back in D.C. But what about the regional or national problems that often pushes the locals' backs to the wall? That is where the National Association of Counties provides an opportunity for America's counties, parishes, and boroughs to work together, exchanging ideas and formulating resolutions from 3,069 laboratories of local governments. Which do you feel has more weight in Congress? A resolution from a single county, or the same resolution backed by every county in the U.S.?
Prime example is Waters of the U.S. We were part of that, and we said no, 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 no. As a group, we, as counties from all over the United States, need to reset and do something different.
Utilizing NACo to affect those decisions and maybe alter the course of those decisions for our county is just critical.
NACo also serves as a body for elected officials to learn what's working, what's not, what issues are the same, and what's different.
I've learned a lot at NACo. I like the keynote speakers. I love the opportunity to pick and choose where I go to different workshops. And I love having the opportunity to meet new people.
Yeah, the first NACo conference I went to was just an incredible eye-opener about how much information there was available to county commissioners and how much of a grasp NACo has on national issues that affect counties.
Another interesting aspect of NACo is how involved Utah's counties are in the organization. And it's paying off.
Spent some time a couple of weeks ago with Matt Chase, who's the CEO of NACo. And he says, Utah has a great influence. Little Utah, with 3 million people compared to, California. He says, they get it, they're engaged, they come, and they participate, and it does make an influence nationally.
It's interesting for constituents to realize that when their county commissioners are involved in organizations at the national level, oftentimes they think, oh geez, that's just a boondoggle, why are they wasting all this money outside of our county? And unfortunately for me and other county commissioners, one of the things that we learn really quick is that we have to work outside of our county more than we do inside our county, because the things that affect our constituents, it's not us passing bad ordinances or us that's passing restrictive policy. It's Washington, D.C. It's critical that we realize the impact that we can have outside of our county, because those decisions will be made with or without us.
For the County Seat, I'm Derek Dowsett.
Well, now we have an idea what NACo is. When we come back, we'll turn to our guests and find out why it is that they show up every year. Hello everybody, welcome back to the County Seat. We are talking today about the National Association of Counties and specifically about the impact that Utah as a state has on this national organization. A lot of that's due to the intense camaraderie and the participation by Utah commissioners across the board. Joining us for a conversation are two of the more active guys, particularly in the public lands arena. Jack Lytle, who's commissioner from Daggett County, Leland Pollock from Garfield County. Guys, it seemed like just yesterday you guys were on the show. So welcome back.
It's good to see you, Chad.
Why is NACo so important? You know, Jack, you out of pocket your expense to go. Your county doesn't have the budget to send you. Why do you do it?
There's probably three main reasons. One is, I don't think, and Leland can speak to it probably better than I, but I don't think there's a better organization that is as far-reaching in terms of its clout with the national politics, and the fact that our involvement, my involvement in particular with Public Land Steering Committee part of it, we have a strong voice in that part of NACO, as well as the participation of how many different county commissioners in different NACO committees is significant from the Utah part, and I think we have something to offer. And then personally, you get to learn from other people, and maybe you don't have to make the same mistakes they did.
So the networking is a big part of what you guys do?
The networking is as big a part as any other, whether it's working with people from North Dakota or Kentucky or Alabama. There's some issues that are not Western only, and we get to learn about those.
Why is it that Utah has such gravity in that organization? Because it seems like almost everywhere you turn, even in urban issues, we've got representation on these committees.
Well, number one, we're the great state of Utah. I'm very proud of that. But you're going to find nationally, on the national stage, you have some of the best commissioners in the United States coming right out of Utah. And it's, you know, I wish more people knew that how many good commissioners we have, good people, and high-value people, very intelligent, hardworking. And a lot of the public land issues galvanize many of those good commissioners. But let me go one further. Nationwide, there are like 3,300 counties, all right? And we're talking all the way back to New York. You know, sometimes New York seems like another country, not even part of the United States to us on a lot of the congressional issues. But if you bring it down to the county level, it's a humbling experience to be a county commissioner. We're right with the people. So we don't look across the aisle and look at what party they come from or anything else about that individual. We look at that individual, they feel our pain at the county level. So it galvanizes the county officials nationwide. Now, why is it such a high value for Garfield County? We're 93% public land, okay? Federal public land. We have 4,900 people. We've got all these federal issues. If I get through the Public Lands Committee, a NACo resolution passed out of that Public Lands Committee, and it makes it all the way through. It has to be ratified all the way up the chain through all the other committees, and then the final day somebody can protest it. And then at the end of the day, if I hold up a resolution to Congress, it's not Leland Pollock holding that resolution up. It's all of those counties. It's every local government in the United States has endorsed that position. So it's a high value to a county commissioner.
So I did some math in my head. You said there's 3,300
give or take, I think, parishes.
We have 29 counties in Utah. We represent only 1% of the counties,
right,
roughly speaking, across the country. And yet, what were you saying, Jack? Of the resolutions that came out of public lands, a third of them were ours? Or?
A third came out of the state of Utah on that Public Land Steering Committee out of the 26.
And they all passed.
And they passed, and they went through the national vote, correct? I mean,
they went through the whole process, and they were endorsed. They are endorsed by all the counties. They passed out of our committee, and they can be claimed by any other committee. I mean, all kinds of committees can claim them, but they still have to make it to the last day where somebody can protest them on the NACo board.
And then the other committees with NACo, the environment and what's that?
EELU, and it's pretty radically could be
But we have
perceived
participation in it as well.
But
try and help.
if an issue comes up, you do have the chance, if your resolution's claimed by another committee, you can go over and speak to them. And I've done that in the past. The last 2 years I haven't had to do that, but I have in the past.
Is it sometimes overwhelming on knowing what to support and not to support?
Not really, because on public lands, I feel like for us, we live it every day. We know the issues. We know if there's a public land issue that should not be supported. We know that it would be detrimental to our constituents. So let me give you a good example of how NACo gets together. And if you have respect among that body, I was able to get a resolution passed by all of these counties in all of the United States supporting President Trump for downsizing the monument. All of the fake news, all of the special interest groups trying to put out all that propaganda is false. You had every county in the nation basically endorsing that resolution, supporting what our county was part of to downsize that monument. So it's a high value thing for our constituents to have us back there. But Utah does through good commissioners. And I'm not going to use the I word. There is a lot of good commissioners in this state.
And
very active.
We've got with our, and the UAC tie to that, Darren Bushman being the chair of our Public Lands Committee.
Absolutely.
And his involvement in these, Tammy Pearson, Mark, and if by starting names,
you opened up a can of worms.
I got a can of worms.
Bruce Adams.
There's Bruce.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
but the thing being is, it takes the whole crew because everybody's bringing different skills to the table.
Right. Tammy's going to be the horse person. She may not be the mining person.
Right. And different people in those roles. The other part of it is that, from my perspective with the NACo part of it is, they also, and this will go back to our last time we met, over PILT, they do the PILT fly-in, PILT and SRS fly-ins into Washington, where we actually are lobbying to get those things funded.
And so that volume and numbers helps.
And that's a NACo, that is purely being a part of NACo.
Let me give one more shout out here. The Western Interstate region, which is all of your western counties in the entire United States, has its own committee. We just got a second vice elected out of Utah, Commissioner Mark Whitney.
Yep.
Wow, that's good.
And so he will automatically go on and be the
WIR president at some point.
Absolutely.
That's good value.
Which is very, very prestigious for the state of Utah. But that's the type of commissioners, you know, and I'm really not going to get into names because there are so many that we're not able to name. I've got a couple of good ones in my county, all counties, very active.
Well, we're going to take a quick break right now. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the resolutions that came out of public lands and specifically the ones that Utah managed to get passed through. We'll be right back on the County Seat. Welcome back to the County Seat. We are talking about NACo, the National Association of Counties, and we are going to take up the conversation of just how many of the 26 public lands resolutions originated in the state of Utah. Let's prioritize and talk about some of the more important resolutions that Utah got through.
Let me go back to some of the ones that are historically valuable, and they have to be passed every year. I was able to sponsor a resolution to get national support to say the sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer in a public land county. So that's a high value one. I'll give another example for, Commissioner Pearson has always brought resolutions and part of our platform now to bring the wild horse issue out to the forefront and educate people. Commissioner Bushman this year had a good resolution for the ranchers. A lot of ranchers are trying to go from sheep to cattle. To go through that process, the Forest Service sometimes takes 10 years to go. I think it's a 5-to-1 conversion if you have to have 5 sheep to get 1, and that needs to be expedited. Somebody needs to bring that out. There's a lot of good ranchers that really need to go to a cow-calf operation from the sheep operation. That was one of the resolutions.
Well,
I'll turn the rest to you.
Any of those changes, whether either direction, is important.
So what kind of things came out of, we've talked grazing, what came out of forestry? Because that's always another big public lands issue. Any changes there?
Well, Commissioner Bushman come up with a good one on it. It basically says we want support to push the Forest Service. I mean, everybody, they look at a forest that burns, right, you know, and some people support it, the controlled burning as part of the process. But what they don't support is, why do you burn up all that wood that we could go gather for firewood and other things without a permit? And why not just have some kind of a categorical exclusion to say, okay, we're going to burn it anyway? You see what I'm saying? It's very wasteful if you're just going to burn it and then you have a valuable product in there that you could go bring out if you're just the public. Now, and
depending on the reason for the burn, you might actually get something out of it, and in some cases may not have to burn it, if it's in a livestock thing, puts somebody out 2 years or whatever. It just want to keep the toolbox open.
Oh, yeah.
Also, so that people can use it as well.
So what kind of an impact would that have on Daggett County?
Well, we don't have a lot of marketable timber, so anything that happens in our county at this stage of the game ends up being typically going to be resource related, in terms of back to that healthy management of the forest, or the active management to maintain a healthy forest.
And you don't have good firewood in your.
And that's where I'm headed, is from the firewood end of things, whether it's in the pinyon juniper or up in the lodgepole or the ponderosa. There's a lot of things that we can do to allow people to get in and do whether it's to collect firewood, even other wood products, if there's a chipping mill somewhere or whatever.
Right, absolutely.
So will a resolution like this really help move that along?
These resolutions do work, they do matter, and I'll tell you what, when you have 33 counties backing you, you're not one commissioner standing up there. You've got that document.
How long have we talked about active forest management?
Yeah.
That resolution. And that's become part of the stewardship issue that Secretary Perdue just worked out with the governor. Mm-hmm. All of those things, they're all pretty damn important when it comes to.
Well, I think on the wild horse issue on the national stage, they've been able to move the needle there. You're not going to do it in your county if you're a federal land county. You can't. I mean, it's like sitting inside your house, and you've rented a house, you don't own the house, and you're screaming and yelling at the landlord, and you're not even using the phone, okay? What do? You go to the landlord,
yeah,
okay? Write to him directly and say, this is a problem, because it's kind of like the way we feel in these.
And it's not just my apartment, it's everybody in the apartment complex. Okay, that's a really good analogy.
Yeah, right.
We're going to take a quick break before we come back, finish our conversation on resolutions from NACo that should have impacts on how counties are treated in public lands. We'll be right back in a minute. Welcome back to the county seat. We're talking today about resolutions, public land resolutions that took place at NACo during the summer. And we want to talk about, we've mentioned it in saying before you do controlled burns, but what about catastrophic burns? One of the big issues that's facing Utah right now, what happened in resolutions on that issue?
Happens every year. It's not just Utah on that one. You know, nationwide, there are so many resolutions trying to get that problem addressed. And finally, we have a president, thank goodness we have a president that I support very much, and he needs to take a lot of credit for that, because there is support for his executive order, okay, by way of one of those resolutions to address this issue. Remember when he did that, his executive order? There are many, many resolutions that come in every year on catastrophic fire. Catastrophic fire is one of the worst problems the West is dealing with right now. And some people are in denial on it, but there is a lot of people that are saying, hey, we're tired of losing our drinking water. We're tired of losing our homes. We're tired of seeing our beautiful forests destroyed and incinerated by these fires. So that's a very good tool to be involved with NACo on.
I would imagine from a tourist level, even if it's just a tourist level, seeing 60 acres of healthy trees, or 60 trees per acre of healthy trees versus 300 trees that are burned to a crisp is a much better alternative and probably better on the landscape, is it not?
Well, especially when you look at why that 300 acres of trees burned, or those 300 trees. If Mother Nature does it, and you're in a situation where that's how it's restarting, that's one way. But that muddles it a little bit. But on the other side is we've got so many areas that are at risk of fire, and then it's our infrastructure again. Those watersheds are our county infrastructures, no matter how you look at it. And why would we jeopardize those? And when it's catastrophic fire, whether it's Dollar Ridge, whether it's the fires that were in Utah County, St. Pete, those were catastrophic. When you start losing homes, when you can't get control of it in a reasonable amount of time and effort, and then it goes back to they're taking money away from the management of those forests. It's a never-ending circle.
Because they got to fight.
Because they got to fight the fire.
I want to make one shout out though. We've mentioned a lot of public land things that are going on, commissioners. Statewide, you've got all kinds of urban commissioners that are involved back there doing great things. And so we didn't mean to mention anybody's name. The Utah, I'm going to call it Team Utah, is very dominant on the national stage, because you've got all these officials all the way from northern Utah, urban, rural, everything in between involved.
If you'd like to see a copy of the resolutions that sit on that were passed at this NACo, just go to our website. We'll provide a link for you, and you can read through them yourself. Remember, local government is where your life happens, even if they take it to the national level at NACo. So be involved, be part of the conversation, and we'll see you next week on The County Seat.